What do we tell kids when they fall off their bike or run and scrape their knees? We tell them to stop crying. What are you crying for? Like they don't have a legitimate reason to cry. They fell and hurt their knees and it hurt. Or they fell off their bikes and they were embarrassed and their feelings are hurt. But what do? We snap them out of their feelings, out of those emotions, and we tell them to push through it. That's why we have kids now who don't know how to regulate their emotions, because we never let them feel anything as children. We never let them go through the motions of their emotions. So they don't know how to process sadness. They don't know how to process hurt. They don't know how to process anger, because we've taught them how not to feel. I think that was a big mistake.
Hey Queens. Yeah, you know who you are. God, come on. Go ahead and put that crown on your head. Now tilt a little to the left. Now a little to the right. Perfect. Now let's get to work. Because we know you got big goals. And you got big dreams and not afraid to let them know. Why? Because you step into your purpose. You speak out on your faith. And you shift up in your journey. Because you a boss. Welcome to the podcast, Drop the Expire and Act with your host, Belly of QueenBayGoals.com. Reminding you that you are a queen before anything else. It's your life and your goals. Make it royal. All right, y'all. Go ahead and work that crown.
Hey Queen Bays, welcome to another episode of the Drop the Expire and Act podcast. This is your host, Belly, and today we're talking all about fear and our actions. Or at least one action that I want to introduce you to when you come up against fear. In the last 2 episodes, we talked about fear and what we believe, and fear and our mindsets, and some steps that you can take to start building your faith muscle and shifting your mindset, or getting out of zombie land, as I called it, and avoiding the zombies. But now I want to talk to you about something that you can do. So real action that you can take when it comes to fear. Because those first episodes are internal things. Your belief system, that's internal work. Your mindset shifting, again, that's internal work. But what action can you take when it comes to facing your fears directly? Let's talk about it. I started this episode talking about kids falling off their bikes and how they're always scolded into not crying, not feeling hurt, not feeling embarrassed, just pushing past the emotion. And that might have been you as a kid. What did your parents tell you when you fell off your bike, right? What did they tell you when you scrape your knees? I want you to really think about it today. What are we teaching kids when we tell them not to feel? Like, let's change that bike into a car, because we're adults now, right? So let's think about it from the perspective of you hit your car into a tree and not a bike, right? Are you going to tell yourself, dust it off? You'll be okay. Get back behind the wheel. It's okay. No, right? We are going to probably sue the pants off whoever put the damn tree in our path, or whatever idiot smashed into our car, because we're in pain. We probably have to go to the hospital, or we probably have some kind of back pain, depending on how bad the damage and or how hard we hit into that tree, right? Because I'm going to tell you, if I get in an accident or if I hit into something, I'm going to be pissed as hell. And ain't nobody can tell me to calm down, just push through it, just brush it off. No, right? You would allow me to feel whatever emotions are necessary for me to get through that situation. So why are we telling young kids to let it go, or to just ignore it, or to just get back up, right? That doesn't hurt. Just get up. How do we know if it's not hurting them, right? How do we know that they can't feel pain? Because sometimes it does hurt. And sometimes they need to be allowed to feel that it hurts before we just brush off the emotions. That's where there's so many cases with kids who don't know how to regulate their emotions. And that's a topic for another day. But we really need to pay attention to, the message that we're sending children that may have been passed down from generation to generation, right? Because it may have been something our parents told us, and now that's what we're telling our kids. But sometimes some things don't need to be passed down, because children's feelings matter. Your feelings matter. And that brings us back to, the feeling of fear and our feelings around fear. Your fear matters. It wants to be heard. And the longer you silence it is the longer you allow it to control you and control your life. Because let me tell you something, when you don't face fear, you might think that it's gone because you're not dealing with it. But the minute your dream pops back into your head, the minute your aspiration starts creeping back up, your habit of ignoring it or pushing it to the side, or you just start to go through that negative self-talk, and rather than processing it, you just shut it down. You shut down the negative energy, and somehow you think that makes it go away. It doesn't. So I'm going to need for you to get real uncomfortable, because here's a 2-part action that I want you to take when it comes to fear. All right, so step number 1, embrace the fear. So I'm going to need you to decide on your fear day. So pick a day on the calendar and decide that this is going to be your fear day. What day am I going to process this fear stuff that keeps coming up in my mind, right? And on that day, I'm going to need you to get a pen and a paper and have at it. Let fear rip. I need you to write down all the things, all the reasons why you're afraid, all the reasons why you think you can't do it, all the negative self-talk that comes up, anything that comes up for you in that moment and throughout that day. I need you to write it all down. And if you need a bit of a push or some help, like if you just don't know what to write, start with, what am I afraid of? And if that happens, then what? Like, go down the entire rabbit hole. For example, if your fear is in regards to starting your business, like, I know all the things that could come up for you. I'm afraid I'm not going to make enough money to support my family, right? What if nobody wants to buy from me, right? What if nobody is looking for my service? What if nobody reads my book, right? If you're thinking about writing a book, what if everybody hates it? What if I can't find the right customers, right? What if I have to go back to a 9-to-5? How is that going to look, right? How's everybody going to look at me? What if people think I'm a failure? And then if you want to go off the deep end, like, what if I lose my house? What if I lose my car? What if me and my kids end up sleeping in a car? And that's like the worst that could happen, right? I need you to go all the way down that rabbit hole and write all the things that come up once you step into that fear. Some of you may get a little bit emotional throughout this step and as you write those things down, and that's okay, because I need you to feel those things, right? You've staved it off for way too long. I need you to feel it. I need you to cry. I need you to get angry. I need you to get sad. Have a glass of wine when it hurts your feelings, right? When that negative self-talk comes up and she's hurting your feelings, guess what? Just have a glass of wine after you write it down, and just drink it up. Because I'm going to need you to feel all those things, because then we're going to get to the second part of that exercise. So when the day is over, I need you to set your list aside and then shut it down. That was fair day. Fear has had its day. So step 2, I'm going to need you to have a day of courage. Now, I'm going to need for you to go into your day of courage with the same energy that you went into your day of fear. All the crap that you let fear have on its day, I need you to put the same amount of effort in when it comes to your courage. And here's the questions that I want you to start with if you need something to help you. The questions are, what is possible if I showed courage instead of fear? Or what would happen if I succeeded? And what does my success look like? So those are the 3 questions that you can start with if you're not sure what to write at first. Those are the questions that I want you to start with. And then I want you to go down the same rabbit hole of, what happens if everything does work out? What happens if I am successful? What happens if I find the right people to buy my book? What happens if I find like all the clients that come into my business? What does that look like for me? Same thing that you did yesterday, and the same talks that you have with yourself, I need you to just spin them around and, turn courage on. Turn your courage on. And today, we're not having any of the negative self-talk. Anytime a hint of negative self-talk creeps up, I'm going to need you to pat that paper that you worked on yesterday for Fair Day and be like, you had your chance. Today is not your day. I'm reclaiming my time, right? In the words of Auntie Maxine, reclaiming my time. You let fear have its day yesterday, and it's equal space, equal grace. And I need you to go through the whole day with that attitude. If my business were successful, I could help so many men, or I could help so many women, or I could help whoever your business is designed to help, right? Fill in the blank. If your book is a success, so many people would be entertained and amused by your writing and they'll want more. Like, I need you to just imagine all the things. Your children will be so proud of you. You would start showing up for more things for them. They would be looking at you and be like, oh gosh, mom did that. So that's possible, right? Like, I need you to write all the things. Imagine that for a whole day. And the last thing I want you to do, after you've had your fair day, after you've had your courage day, this is a new day. So that's like 3 days I'm going to need you to take off, right? But it's a completely new day. And the last thing I want you to do is get both lists. And I want you to put them together. And I want you to remember how you felt when you create each one. So your fair day versus your courage day. And then I want you to decide, which one do you want to feel more of in your future? And that's the list that I want you to keep. That's the list that I want you to go to anytime fear pops up when you're going after your dreams. That's the list that I need you to have in your back pocket on days when you are not motivated to do the work. That's a list that's going to push you to start thinking about and start moving towards dropping your expired act and starting that business, writing that book, starting that side hustle, doing all the things. That's a list that I need you to keep. And I need you to remind yourself that it is possible. You can have all the things. Because fear is just a bunch of what ifs, right? But what if you were successful? What if you embrace that courage? What if you use that and challenge the fear that keeps coming up? When if your fear keeps coming back, because it's not going to go away, right? Let's just be real. It's not going to go away in a day. And it's going to keep coming back up. But what if you have that list to challenge it every time that it comes up? When it comes up in your head, you think you can do that business? I don't know if you can do that business. You don't have the experience. I'm going to need you to hit back with that courage. Don't worry about me, fear. I got this. I'm going to get the experience I need, and I'm going to build a business that was meant for me. Right? Just hit it back. Hit it back. You can have talks with your negative self-talk. Just hit it back with that courage. That's what I'm going to need for you to do. To keep that list to remind you every time that you start to go down the rabbit hole of fear. You need to give it equal space and go down that rabbit hole of courage. Because you have it in you. All right. So that's the action that I want you to take. Wait, I have one more thing that I want you to do. Just one more teeny tiny thing that I want you to do. I know I said that was the last thing, but there's one more thing I want you to do. I want you to come back and tell me how that exercise made you feel. Come back and tell me if you've done the exercise. You took your 3 days and you've done your exercise. I need you to come back and tell me what it made you feel. Like, what emotions did you go through when you were doing it? Like, did it help you to actually process your feelings as you went through it? Like, what came up for you? Because some big things might come up for you as you go through that exercise. So come back and tell me about it. You can message me on Instagram or Facebook. Just send me a message and be like, hey, I tried out that exercise that you said when you said let fear have its day. And this is how it went for me. Just shoot me a message and tell me how it went. You can also write a review on the podcast. Just leave a review and let me know that hey, I tried this and, it worked for me. And these are all the things that I got to do because I started to invest in my courage day more than I did the fair days, right? So let me know how it works out for you. All right. So we're going to summarize and wrap up the podcast. So what I want you to take away from all of this is to let fear have its day, then let courage have its day. And after that, you decide who's going to win the day going forward and give room to what you want to feel in your future. So let's get to the quote of the podcast. And this week's quote of the podcast is, the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear, by Nelson Mandela. Now, here's my twist on the quote, which is simple, and I'm just adding like 2 words on the end of that quote, which is, the brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear with courage. So I'll talk to you in the next podcast.
You have been listening to another episode of Drop the Aspiring Act. If you're looking for more information of this podcast and other episodes, please visit queenbaegoals.com. That's QueenBaeGoals.com. All right, y'all. I'll see you in the next podcast.